she helped me with him. I mean, she was their godmother.
And Tina, one of the things that you said I made her a promise the day I dressed her for the funeral. I mean, this is just bringing tears to my eyes. I made her a promise the day I dressed her for the funeral that I was going to get her justice, and I will get justice for my sister. Is that what fuels and continues to push you in this moment, even through the pain that you're feeling? Is the promise that you made to Pooh Bear?
Yes, and attorney, because this is the situation. Is this, so when people hear the story, if they know the story, they're like, oh, well, no. Amazon had Amazon employees that came there to be package handlers and sorters doing COVID tests, which was illegal. And it's illegal is because on the CDC and FDA says that only licensed professionals can COVID test. My sister was not a licensed professional. She had a degree in human resources. She was not a nurse and she was not a doctor. So we have to say that it was illegal because it was. Anytime someone does something and they don't have licensing for it and they are not in that, that's illegal. That's against the law. It's disgusting what's happening now. Me having a fight for justice. Me having to fight this monster of a corporation, and how he runs his corporation is exactly how he runs his lawyers.
Yeah.
So
what does justice look like for you and the family? What is that? What do you want people to know? What is justice for you and the rest of the family?
Justice is for us, our family, is to hold Amazon accountable. My sister leaves behind a daughter, and at the time she was 12. And I made her, I'm gonna go back to what you said, I made her 3 promises that day when I was dressing her for the funeral. It was to take care of my mother, who's bedridden, which I'm doing all by myself with no nurse, no help. Take care of her child. And I was going to get her justice. I don't know what anyone else would do, Senator Turner. If this was your family member, I don't know what they want me to do. They just want me to lay down and take it. Who goes to jail for indirect murder? What do you do? Who goes to jail for it? They had Amazon employees illegally COVID testing, sticking swab of other Amazon employees' nose to test them for COVID with no vaccination out, no vaccine. I mean, who goes to jail for indirect murder? Because some people think, oh, well, she's suing and she wants money. Listen, I want someone to go to jail, but I went to the police station. I went to the police department. Who do you go to for indirect murder? Who is it? Is it Jeff Bezos who ordered it? Who said in April 15, 2020 that he was opening up his own COVID testing center? Who goes to jail for indirect murder? Somebody email me, call me, let me know, because I want justice in all areas. I have to get it in all areas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So your sister died unexpectedly, right? She died in her sleep on January the 8th. Before her death, did she communicate her frustration about what she was being made to do?
Absolutely. She shouted it from the mountaintop. She put it in email. She put it in the A to Z. She put it in the headquarters. She told everyone, even the workers in the warehouse knew. My sister was sick a couple of days before she died. Like I said, I'm in court, so I can't say too much. She went to her supervisor, who I know very well, and told them. They said, hey, you don't have any PTO, hang in here, you can do it. My sister was supposed to go to the doctors the next day. She never woke up. She expressed it. She expressed it to everyone. Everyone knew. Everyone, if they got the emails, they knew. She only received one reply back out of at least 15 or 20 emails that she sent. She only received one response back.
Yeah. I mean, I just can't even imagine, I mean, this kind of crisis that we're facing in America, where corporations literally get away with killing folks, putting them in these kinds of positions. How can people be helpful? There's a GoFundMe, right? Yes. Tell us how to find you, how to reach you, and then what can people do if they're listening to this, because we're gonna put this out far and wide. Okay. And if I'm sitting down in my living room or I'm listening in my car, what can I do to be helpful to the Brown family?
So everyone can pass and share the story. Also, there's a petition. I think we're going to be dropping it right now on your show. There's a petition, the Justice for Pushan Brown petition. Please sign it. I think you guys have it. Sign it. Also, you can go to the handles, Twitter, Instagram. The email justiceforpushanbrown@gmail.com. Share, post a story. If you can donate anything, if you can't, please share the story. No one is not speak. A lot of people aren't speaking about this. They're scared of Amazon. Please do not be scared. If this was your sister, your mother, your loved one, your family member, please, I know you will want justice. So,
yeah, absolutely. Share the story. You heard what Tina said. If you can't donate, share the story, be in solidarity. Because even though Tina Brown is fighting for her sister and she finally calls Pooh Bear, this is for other people's sisters and mothers and cousins and brothers and fathers. This is for them too. This fight, this justice journey is for them too. Tina, just thank you so much for your incredible courage. We are allies with you here on Unbossed, and anytime you want to update us or is there something you want us to know, you please let us know. Yes, that link will be there. We will put it out on our social media. I'll put it out on my personal social media too, as well as Unbossed. And we are here to be in support of you, lifting you up in prayer. Thank you, Tina,
so much. Thank you so much, Senator Turner. Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
God bless you too. God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you. We appreciate that. Now, y'all know you can do something now. We can give some thoughts and some prayers, but Tina also gave us some action items. You can take action. If you don't have money to spare, and we understand a lot of people do not, then you can share this story, but any amount to that GoFundMe. So you will see those links. Well, this is our time for today and for this week. This has been a heck of a week, and we're so glad that you've been here with us to share in these moments. You know exactly what I want you to do about this time. I do always want you to keep the faith, but coupled with that faith, you gotta have some fight. Until next time.
Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. What's up, Pop? To another edition of the Watch List. In fact, a Friday version of the Watch List. It's not that there's so much more going on today. It's just there's so much more going on with our first story today. It's a deep dive, if you would. So, of course, to jump into these things, it's more than just that. Jordan Uhl joins me on the show. He's a TYT contributor and also the host of Game Busters on Fridays. That'd also be today. Whenever I do the main show and wrap up at the end, Jordan, I never know who's hosting. It could be from Brett to you to anyone else. So permanently, I can say it's.
Yeah, absolutely. They're there almost every time, but yeah.
See, not always though. The standard is Jordan Uhl there. He'll take you guys through this. You're doing it tonight as well. Game Busters being what I wished I could have done. I did a little bit during the pandemic. That was quite fun, but I guess lately it's just one of those things that fell off for me. Maybe I'll join again at some point. It's fun times. But as I did point out though, you guys, there's a big news going on that you probably won't see on the front page of Fox News. You also won't see it on the second to third page of Fox News or any link that you may want to look for on it. Maybe they've switched up and done it by now. But just in case they haven't, and you guys have been hanging out over there, we've got the story for you here. Let's watch this.
Breaking news this morning on the software that President Trump says was weaponized against him. Coming up, President Trump's legal team with new evidence this morning of backdoors on voting machines, ballot tampering, and election interference.
President's lawyers alleging a company called Dominion, which they say started in Venezuela with Cuban money and with the assistance of Smartmatic software, a backdoor is capable of flipping votes. But the media has no interest in any of this. But you and I do, as we should.
The foundations of democracy and the will of the people, which is, of course, expressed through our votes. And we don't know about the accuracy of those votes. We have a very good indication that they were fraudulently counted.
Look, I want to show this graphic of the swing states that were using Dominion and this software.
Georgia uses Dominion voting systems, which has a history of technical glitches. And in Atlanta, these software glitches could have affected thousands of absentee mail-in ballots.
The fact of the matter is that this president is looking at the prospect of having this election stolen from him.
And then they did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps in Michigan and Pennsylvania and all over.
If you paid any attention in the past few years, you've seen these types of declarations made on Fox News from hosts to talent to contributors to politicians and everyone in between about how Dominion voting systems will completely rig the election against former President Donald Trump, led by him and his team. Of course, see those clowns there next to Janine Pirro there. She tells her lies. Well, we know that defamation suit has been filed against Fox News by Dominion voting machines. And as of just Thursday of this week, they released all these texts, emails, communications that were previously unknown to the general public from Fox News hosts and executives about this whole thing. And what it is beginning to reveal, I think pretty extensively, is that they knew everything they were saying was BS, but they continued doing it. We're gonna show that, and we're gonna show why they did it. And it's pretty straightforward and clear. Let's go straight to the beginning of this though, because New York Times reported on this as well as many other entities. And they said, the hosts Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and Laura Ingraham, as well as others at the company, repeatedly insulted and mocked Trump advisors, including Sidney Powell and Rudolph W. Giuliani, in text messages with each other in the weeks after the election. Quote, Sidney Powell is lying, by the way. I caught her. It's insane, is what Mr. Carlson wrote to Ms. Ingraham on November 18th of 20. Ms. Ingraham responded, Sidney is a complete nut. No one will work with her. Ditto with Rudy. Except for them when they invited them on the show every damn night. More though, Mr. Carlson continued, our viewers are good people and they believe it, he added, making it clear that he did not. So he kept going down that road. This is the same Mr. Carlson that was saying things like this, watch.
Other countries understand it. They don't use electronic voting because they know it undermines confidence in democracy. A system cannot function if no one trusts the vote. And that's true here too, as we're finding out. Going forward, we need to find out exactly what happened in this month's presidential election. We need to find out no matter how long it takes the investigation to unfold or how much it costs. And once we get answers from that investigation, we ought to revert immediately to the traditional system of voting, the one that served our democracy for hundreds of years. But at the same time, we shouldn't let our focus on voting machines distract us from all that happened earlier this month. The 2020 presidential election was not fair. No honest person would claim that it was fair. On many levels, the system was rigged against one candidate and in favor of another. And it was rigged in ways that were not hidden from view. We all saw it happen.
That's Tucker Carlson saying things that he thinks his viewers want to hear because they did. But he never believed it, as we already heard a little bit of. But he wasn't done yet. There's more to this. Eric Wimple, he works, he's with the Washington Post media critic, and he had a bit of a thread talking about some of the things that were revealed in this defamation hearing as they revealed the things that were going on. Here's the first little piece of this. He says one thing that leaps out of the document is just how panicked network officials were about the viewers' disenchantment with the network's early call of Arizona going to Biden. This is what then went through that whole thing. On November 9th, the impact of Fox's Arizona call became more evident to Fox executives. Carlson told Scott, an executive, directly, "I've never seen a reaction like this." That's Suzanne Scott. "I've never seen a reaction like this to any media company. Kills me to watch it." Scott immediately relayed the email to Lachlan Murdoch. She told Brignati that Bill Salmon, did not understand the impact of the brand and the arrogance in calling Arizona, which she found astonishing, given that as a top executive, it was Salmon's job to, quote, protect the brand. What would that brand be? Anyways, they said on day one, as Scott termed it, Fox executives made an explicit decision to push narratives to entice their audience back. Scott and Lachlan Murdoch exchanged texts about the plan going forward, and they're talking about the viewers' 5 stages of grief. Let's move on to this next part, because Tucker also wasn't done protecting the company in his declarations about what was going on. This is what else he also said. "We worked really hard to build what we have," Carlson texted to his producer, Alex Pfeiffer, on November 5th of 20. That's according to the filing. Referring to colleagues who projected the results, Carlson texted, "Those efforts are destroying our credibility. It enrages me." Look at the upside down world that we're looking at here. Tucker Carlson's talking about how these folks are destroying their credibility. The credibility in lying to viewers and continue to push this narrative that the election was stolen, when he knows or believes, at least in his mind, that it was not. What is the reason? To protect that credibility. Carlson added that he had spoken with fellow primetime commentators Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity minutes earlier, and that they were highly upset. It wasn't just him. Wow. At this point, we're getting hurt no matter what, he wrote, according to the filing. Pfeiffer replied that many on our side are being reckless demagogues right now. Of course they are, is what Carlson then wrote back. We're not going to follow them, the reckless demagogues that happen to be telling the truth. And one more piece here before they get to the second level of this, and your thoughts at the beginning of this here, Jordan. Carlson went on to say that Trump was good at, quote, destroying things. He's the undisputed world champion of that. He could easily destroy us if we play it wrong. Damn. So this is the first level of it, Jordan. As I think we chatted a little bit before we came on, it's unsurprising, but what is it really doing now for the general public to see this stuff?
Right, so this lawsuit uncovered texts in the discovery phase that showed that Fox hosts openly mock some of these wild conspiracy theories that they go out and parrot and they repeat on air every single night, knowing that it's untrue. And to us and to the viewers and to any sensible, rational person in this country, a brief interaction and viewership of Fox will show you they are not rooted in reality. They have created an alternate universe for their viewers. And sadly, millions of people tune in every night and buy in to this MAGA soap opera. But all of the hosts are in on it. In a way, it's like wrestling. It's just all kayfabe. They're all in on it behind the scenes. They all know it's BS.
Yeah.
They're just playing a role. And from Tucker to Laura Ingraham to Hannity, they all know what they're doing. And unfortunately, millions of people don't. And they trust them, unfortunately. And that leads to real world harm. You can draw a through line between the claims that were parroted around the 2020 election on that network and January 6th. People seriously thought, because of Fox, that these machines were hacked, that they were rigged, the election was fraudulent. because ultimately Fox is just serving as a megaphone for the Republican Party. That's their goal. And you see that in Tucker's comment about how if they play it wrong, Trump will destroy them. They are an apparatus, a communications apparatus for the Republican Party, plain and simple.
And that's the way, of course, that's why they pitch themselves as the complete opposite of that, to somehow keep these folks watching. That I think, even if they said blatantly, we're the network that's trying to help Republicans get elected and lie about it by any means necessary, they would still have a pretty large number of viewers to go, yes, do just that. Because this has been proven out so many times before. You mentioned Tucker more because I have a little bit more. Yes, this is a seriously deep story. Let's go to more because Tucker and Handy were also targeting some employees that were telling the truth. Here's another piece from Eric Wimple as he tweeted this out. After Fox News staffer correctly fact-checked stuff that was coming out of the network's opinion side, all hell broke loose among the primetimers. Here's that detail. In their group text thread, Carlson pointed Hannity into a tweet by Fox reporter Jackie Heinrich. Heinrich was fact-checking a tweet by Trump that mentioned Dominion and specifically mentioned Handy and Dobbs's broadcast that evening discussing Dominion. Heinrich correctly fact-checked the tweet, pointing out that top election infrastructure officials said that there is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. That was the fact-check because that was the fact. Tucker Carlson then responded because this is his job. He said, please get her fired. Saying Mr. Hannity, seriously, what the F is what he said. I'm actually shocked. It needs to stop immediately. Like tonight, it's measurably hurting the company. The stock price is down, not a joke. And Tucker added, I just went crazy on meat over it. Hannity said he had already sent to Suzanne with a really? He then added, I'm 3 strikes. This Wallace stuff debate, election night is a disaster. Now this BS, nope, not gonna fly. And then he said, did I mention Cavuto? So they're asking for one particular fact checker to be fired because of fact checking. I'm gonna say that again. Fox News host asked for a fact checker to be fired because she was fact checking. And she did it accurately to the things that Donald Trump was saying. Then, as you saw, Sean Hannity mentioned Cavuto. This is what Cavuto had been doing, apparently that angered Sean Hannity. Watch.
We want every legal vote to be counted, and we want every illegal vote to be...
I just think we have to be very clear. She's charging, the other side is welcoming fraud and welcoming illegal voting. Unless she has more details to back that up, I can't in good countenance continue showing you this. I want to make sure that maybe they do have something to back that up, but that's an explosive charge to make, that the other side is effectively rigging and...
It's thoroughly impossible to go through the near 200 pages of the Dominion's suit and the things that they were saying specifically in court on Thursday to point out all these holes in Fox News's defense of this. But Fox News did say that this is a violation of our First Amendment rights. Okay, sure.
On that point, though, one of the components of a successful libel suit would be proving that they were knowingly engaging in, false claims. They had a reckless disregard for the truth. This seems to show that. They all knew it was bogus. And it also reflects this internal conflict at Fox between the opinion side and the news side. That's something that Fox has taken to advertisers at upfronts, which is where TV networks sell most of their ads every year. And they've tried to stress the importance and validity and integrity of the news side. This shows how little they actually care about the news side and how much weight the opinion side has internally. They're demanding a fact checker get fired. They're going after Cavuto for pointing out that plainly false claims made by Kayleigh McEnany were being broadcast. It's a pretty basic decision to pull away from that. Unfortunately, a lot of networks didn't do that during the Trump administration because of the spectacle. That Fox even did is surprising, but the reaction from people like Tucker to that sensible decision shows what they're ultimately about. And that is deliberately lying to people, getting them worked up into a fervor, and creating this alternate universe where the Republican worldview and conservative beliefs are continually affirmed, even if that means engaging in outright lies.
And sometimes those outright lies lead to outright violence. We've seen it before, and then when January 6th went down, then a couple of them were scrambling around saying, stop this, what are we doing? Well, you helped build up that entire energy that led to the next step. I guess they just never thought it would get to that point somehow. There's so much more. If you guys want the details of more of this, check out the lawsuit. There's stories everywhere. There's more going down. We only have so much time in the hour. Let's go ahead and jump to this next network and another idiotic thing that was said on air by one Don Lemon. But think about then how this has been getting pushed and spun into the next step of everything else. Here's this story.
Is that enough for you as an apology?
Look, this is something that I have faced all of my life. If it was Don Lemon yesterday, it was Whoopi Goldberg the day before, there will be somebody else tomorrow. I have always made the liberals' heads explode. They can't stand the fact that a minority conservative female would not be on the Democratic side because they know I pull independents. They know I pull suburban women. They know I pull minorities over to what we are trying to do. And look, he made that comment. I wasn't sitting there saying sexist middle-aged CNN anchors need to have mental competency tests, although he may have just proven that point. But look, the liberals are going to continue to show themselves. They can't stand the fact that I am a Republican and I am a conservative. And you know what? It rolls off my shoulders. I don't think too much about it.
Well, the New York Post calls it lemon squeezed. Maybe you feel the same.
Just possibly. There's Nikki Haley continuing her media tour since she's announced her run for president. And that's in response to Don Lemon, as he popped up there, saying some other things about Nikki Haley that was just straight out of bounds. Let's keep it real. If you guys missed it, watch.
Notice Nikki Haley when she said that yesterday. Obviously a dig at Biden, but she said 75 and up. So that would include Trump.
Elder statesman here.
This whole talk about age makes me uncomfortable. I think it's the wrong road to go down. She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that.
Whoopsies. It was pretty obvious once it happened what then went down. Jordan, I want your opinion on that first part. And that's what we saw, because I like to analyze the body emotions of other folks as she saw that go down, the facial expression shift, and he knew it was a problem then.
Yeah, look, in the grand scheme of things in recent history at CNN, it is, far from the worst thing that's happened there, but it's still really bad. You just don't say that. It's just kind of, professional etiquette 101. And within that is a deep misogyny. But just seeing him telling two women on his panel to Google when women are in their prime, as if that's something that women aren't already faced with through societal pressure to always look young and always appear younger than they are and never can reveal their age. Just Google when women are in their prime. You'll be surprised what you find. You don't think they think about this stuff already? It was really bizarre.
And I have news. They won't be surprised for what they see. They've heard it and people talking about it all the time. But that did not stop Nikki Haley from acting like that's something that she didn't hear until Don Lemon said so, because she tweeted out, again, this is part of the campaign, so you can expect this. This is actually, if she didn't do it, I would be disappointed in her. So she tweeted this out. Liberals can't stand the idea of having competency tests for older politicians to make sure they can do their job. I'm sure Republicans they also have an issue with that, the 85-year-olds. By the way, it's always the liberals who are the most sexist, as she tosses that on, as she pointed out. And also, I make liberal heads explode and all that. It all goes back to her campaign, which makes you wonder, does she care about the fact that he said this ridiculous thing, or does she look to use that to fuel her political run? Questions I think could be asked. Still though, Don Lemon apologized. This was also expected. This is what he tweeted. The reference I made to a woman's quote prime this morning was inartful and irrelevant, as colleagues and loved ones have pointed out, and I regret it. A woman's age doesn't define her either personally or professionally. I have countless women in my life who prove that every day. There was no apology in there, but still, I guess regretted is what we take as the apology. He regrets it. You can regret things and sometimes not apologize them. But for still, he went down that road, and of course, people assumed he was forced to do so. But the CEO of CNN is also not thrilled about this. Chris, excuse me. Chris, liked, I believe, isn't happy that he has spoken, and he's spoken to Don a couple times today, is what a Post source said. Don knows it can't happen again. And at a town hall meeting, Liked reportedly said, if saying stupid things becomes a trend for Lemon or others, then there will be recourse. We already know his buddy Chris Cuomo, as they used to toss to each other. One is already gone. So with this recourse, I think we know exactly what that means. One more part here though, because there were some folks who looked to defend Don Lemon. Let's jump down to the last graphic 5 here, you guys. Some folks were looking to defend Don Lemon on this to a degree, because I don't think many people could see that and say, right on, Don, unless their names are Tucker Carlson. And I wish we'd run the clip from yesterday we did of Tucker Carlson talking about Chelsea Handler, because, only libs deal in the sexism. Still though, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar tried to throw Don Lemon a bit of a bone. He says, Don, we know where your heart was in the right place. I think you were referencing women being in their prime during their, quote, reproductive years. Women are always in their prime because, in my opinion, they get stronger, more courageous, and more beautiful as they get older. I hear you, Kareem. You probably shouldn't have said anything on this. I'm just saying. We know what he was trying to do in saying she's old too, but women age. Their limits are sooner than men's. It's a problem, man. It's just a problem.
Yeah, I mean, could have done without the first half of that statement from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He saved it at the end, but wonky wording all around. You don't need to throw him a bone. He's an adult. He can, defend his own statements. It also illustrates just the vapid commentary and horse race analysis forwarded by CNN and other cable outlets. That's something they're talking about. Why won't you talk about or spend more time on or focus in that moment? But all of the terrible things that she defended and did while in the Trump administration. They're trying to, there's been this rightward shift at CNN over the past few years, laid out by, the new management, by investors, by the board. They want to be more like Fox. They feel like they need to pull viewers from Fox and find more people in the middle. And it results in just this lowest common denominator political analysis that does everyone a disservice. So it's really not surprising when you think about it that way.
I guess they push more policy things and it'll be just too boring, which I hear that too, because many people don't like watching things that I guess drag on with the normal policy debates. We have to talk about people's ages all the time, which maybe if it has to do with what's happening and what they're doing in office, I can see it. But these are blanket statements that then of course lead to Don Lemon trying to land a shot right back. Let's take this first break though, you guys. When we get back, a few of your comments, but also there's other folks taking shots at Nikki Haley, but Nikki Haley didn't respond to them. You might wonder what side of the aisle they're on. We'll do that, and also some police brutality, as you can imagine. It's devastating stuff. All that when we come back.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
Back on the watch list. Most importantly, Jordan Uhl's back on the watch list. Boomer Dragon Cat on over at 2X Members said this. Yay, Jordan! Exclamation points all around. I was just thinking I hadn't seen you in a bit co-hosting. I always enjoy your take on things, as we all. I can't have Jordan on without thinking about the Taco Bell story because that's what we did. One of the previous times it came on.
You know what? A couple days later after that, I thought to myself, like, I wonder if I could do that. And I ordered Taco Bell. What was it, $29, something like that?
I think nearly $30, something like that.
I couldn't do it. And I felt terrible afterward. And I've never wanted to eat it again.
I will not discuss the last time I had Taco Bell. It was this week. It was the only time I've had it in like years. Still, Drunk Mom Dragon 2X Member says, yes, I'm always happy to see Jordan's beautiful face. Happy Friday. I'm glad the fellas get a little bit of the beauty comments as well. I'm looking for more on Jordan. Look, you guys need to give Jordan some more love. But YouTube super chats, Nicolette Horace, says, you know what? Tucker's right. The election wasn't fair. The Democrats consolidated power to kneecap Bernie and compromise high-level jobs to the candidates that stepped down. That's not what he means, of course not. Absolutely not. What I mean is let's get to more of these stories. Here's Ann Coulter. Here's more on Nikki Haley. Let's watch.
She's just a preposterous creature. But her candidacy did remind me that I need to immigrate to India so I can demand they start taking down parts of their history.
Well, you are a good.
What's with the worshiping? What's with the worshiping of the cows? They're all starving over there. They're worshiping cows. Do you know they have a rat temple where they worship rats? Hey, baby cakes, why don't you go back to your own country and reconsider that history? How about Gandhi's behavior with little girls? Can we review that?
Wait a minute.
As you may know, I am referring to Nikki Haley, child of immigrants, governor of South Carolina.
Wow, Ann Coulter crawling back out from wherever she's been hiding to talk about Nikki Haley in the ways that only Ann Coulter can. Straight racism. Really weird how that works. So she said this on the Mark Simone's podcast, complaining about Nikki Haley and talking about rats and go back to your country. Basic, normal racism. It sounds a lot like Donald Trump. This is what triggered her and set her off. This is what Haley said that got her this angry.
Joe and Kamala even say America's racist. Nothing could be further from the truth. My immigrant parents know better. And take it from me, the first minority female governor in history, America is not a racist country.
I'm sorry, that's not what triggered her. That's what Haley has been saying that apparently Ann Coulter wants to disprove completely. What actually Ann Coulter is upset about is these damn Confederate statues and monuments and flags coming down. This is what she was upset about when Haley removed this Confederate flag from the State House. Coulter also called Haley a bimbo and a preposterous creature, criticizing her for having advocated removing that Confederate flag from the grounds of the South Carolina State House in the wake of the 2015 shooting at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston. This is my country, lady, she said. I'm not an American Indian, and I don't like them taking down all the monuments. NBC News was reporting this. Now, again, we just talked about Nikki Haley in the battle with Don Lemon and the sexist things that he said about her there. She said that only the sexist remarks come from these libs and these Democrats. Can't believe it. Their heads explode whenever I do anything. So when asked about these comments that Ann Coulter had to say about her, Nikki Haley had no comment. It's really weird because Nikki Haley told us in her build-up video or her announcement video for the presidency that she does certain things to bullies, and it usually isn't coward to them. Watch.
You should know this about me. I don't put up with bullies. And when you kick back, it hurts them more if you're wearing heels.
So clever, unless they're Republicans. Jordan.
Yeah, Ann Coulter has got to be one of the most hateful and miserable people in conservative media. It just, the animus dripping from her voice was so palpable. It was really just, you can't help but almost kind of feel bad for her. Like, she must be so miserable every single day. I hope she gets the help she needs. On the Nikki Haley front, some of her defenders have been rushing to point out how some of the other Republicans who have been attacking her to try to kneecap her in support of DeSantis or Trump or whomever have also been resorting to racist attacks and pointing out her background and her heritage and her family and upbringing, things that really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. They don't largely have an influence over her policies or her platform. It's interesting. I think we should welcome people from all backgrounds, from all countries throughout our politics. It's a good thing. But that's something conservatives are immediately jumping to across the board. And it's not just Ann Coulter. It shows how deep of a problem it is, especially in that party, but also nationwide. That shouldn't be at the forefront of people's minds. It's an afterthought. It's an added bonus that somebody has a different perspective and experience than you. That's what makes this country great. That's one of the best things about this country, despite its many, many flaws. The thing I like almost the most, I don't know what I like the most actually, but one of the things I like a lot is that I can walk down the street where I live and hear different languages, experience different cultures and cuisines, see people that don't look like me. That's what makes life interesting.
Unless you are pitched against them to make sure that they're the ones that are coming to destroy your life. And I think the narrative is played out that Ann Coulter pushes. But it would at least, I think it again, and there's been so many times I think Nikki Haley's missed the mark on trying to promote herself, and she's going very much, the libs hate me, the libs hate me, the libs hate me. There's a lot of people that hate you for who you are and the position that you're coming from. You might be benefited by pointing that out in general. Let's go ahead and keep it moving, you guys. This was disgusting video and story that came out. I think this is up in Minnesota area. Let's go watch this video, you guys.
A little before midnight in Grand Island, Nebraska, dozens of workers file into one of several slaughterhouses across the Midwest. And tonight, officials from the Department of Homeland Security tell NBC News federal investigators are looking into whether 50 children who were illegally employed by Packers Sanitation Services, or PSSI, some as young as 13, were victims of human trafficking. In August, the Department of Labor opened an investigation into PSSI, scouring company records from 50 locations. So far, they say, at least 50 children were found to be working graveyard shifts for PSSI, and at least 5 locations, including the Grand Island plant and a second JBS Foods plant in Worthington, Minnesota.
There's plants all over the place that apparently are employing children. Sanitation, cleaning up, meat packing plants from this particular organization, Packers Sanitation Services, all over the place, from the Midwest to the northern part of the country. So the number of children that have been found working in these types of conditions apparently has doubled since December. At least the ones that they've discovered have been doing this. Some details about how this has all been going down. One of the country's largest food sanitation service providers has paid $1.5 million. No, that's not very much, by the way, in penalties for illegally employing at least 102 children to clean 13 meat packing plants on overnight shifts, what the Labor Department announced just today. And now this sanitation companies responded by saying that the children stopped working at their plant a long time ago. It's not a big deal. They said as soon as we became aware of the DOL's allegations, we conducted multiple additional audits of our employee base. Our audits and DOL's investigation confirmed that none of the individuals DOL cited as under the age of 18 work for the company today. and many had separated from employment with PSSI multiple years ago. Does that sound like a very good defense? Yo, listen, we had no idea that we had these 12-year-olds working for us, bro, but that was back in the past, like a couple months ago, bro. Now, we've determined that we had these children working for us, and we don't even know how it happened. It's just our company, bro. So it sounds like you don't know how to run your company, or you're trying to hide that you were accepting this type of help, I suppose. Still, though, despite how odd that sounds, the Department of Labor found that multiple children had suffered injuries in recent months. Investigators learned in recent months that at least 3 children suffered injuries, including a chemical burn to the face while cleaning slaughterhouses in the middle of the night. Here's one other example, because court records allege that a 13-year-old working for Packers at a JBS beef plant in Grand Island, Nebraska, suffered those chemical burns. Then a 14-year-old worker who also suffered burns cleaned meat cutting machines during this shift from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. Then they went to school and fell asleep in class or missed school completely, is what those investigators said. Also, I think it's pretty obvious. We maybe don't need her to say it, but let's let this particular investigator talk about how it's pretty hard to get that child. Let's look at the picture of that child again. That was caught on some of these images, working on the floor in the plant, scrubbing with after meat cutting blades in front of them. This particular investigator talked about how it's hard to confuse that person with an adult. Watch.
Court filings, the company did not deny hiring children, but attributed it to rogue individuals who presented fake identification.
You met them. Did they look like adults to you?
I would have a hard time ever calling the people I've met with adults. They certainly look, especially the youngest middle schoolers, no way to pass as an adult.
Dude says she thinks the children may have been part of a trafficking scheme that led them to work at a slaughterhouse in her town of just over 50,000 people.
There's too many coincidences with these children to think that this wasn't some kind of plot entertained by a trafficker, a coyote, a smuggler, or potentially even somebody who worked for PSSI.
It's hard to really tell. And look, and that's the question of where is it these folks, these children came from that were then working, or how they obtained them, a little bit of it. I hope the investigation actually turns up more. Let's go back to that $1.5 million, that huge amount that they had to pay, because Tyson, one of the companies underneath this whole thing, the revenue that they expect for this year is between 55 to 57 billion dollars with a B. Think about the 1.5 million that they're gonna have to pay for this type of labor that they've destroyed some kids' lives. Also, what's gonna happen to these kids? Advocates and lawyers for the children say that some of the child workers for PSSI were unaccompanied minors who recently came across the southern border. Unaccompanied minors are processed by the Border Patrol and turned over to the Office of Refugee Resettlement within the Department of Health and Human Services. And the children are then matched with sponsors who usually have some link to their families. So somewhere along the process, something went wrong. And I'm wondering where the what about the children crowd has been as this goes down, Jordan.
This isn't the first story we've heard of kids working in factories or kids working jobs that are unsafe, especially for children. And there has been a recent push in red states to allow kids as young as 12 and 13 to work. And it's framed by conservatives who are pushing it, who are ultimately pro-business. It's framed as an opportunity for them to get valuable working experience. Now, I had a job at 12. I was a paper boy. I would ride my bike a few streets over and deliver papers. Yeah, sure. That was a good experience, but I was not cleaning meat cutting equipment. I was not working in an auto factory. Those would not be good experiences for a child. The reason they're pushing this is because it helps keep labor costs low. And it's ultimately just to help their bottom line. Like you pointed out, the profit that Tyson Foods made over the last year and the billions they make every year. By hiring children and more companies hiring children, it allows them to increase their profits, which is ultimately what this is about. This is just capitalism a century ago. And we all recognized back then that it is unsafe and unhealthy and unwise to do it. And yet here we are again, because the robber barons in our society, despite having everything at their disposal and being able to live just unbelievably and incredibly privileged lives. They're still unsatisfied. They still need more money. They still need a 50 yacht. They need a bigger house. And that's going to come now at kids' expense.
It's never enough. We had child labor laws. We had enslaved folks in this country too, and we're back to that with many imprisoned folks. We've seen some of those stories as well. The only way to continue to push this capitalism thing, where the richest get as rich as possible, beyond rich as possible, is to continue to exploit more and more people. And the vulnerabilities, they just find them all over the place. Because the more they do it, the more you can find vulnerable people, and they'll do it every time. Let's jump to this next story again, you guys. Speaking of vulnerable people, and actually a little bit of brutality going on. Yeah, it's another day. It could have been a mass shooting today, but instead it's right back to police brutality. Here's some very devastating body cam footage of police chasing down a suspect. Let's go.
Shreveport Police, what's your emergency?
How you doing? My husband, he loaded on some on the woody on, and he threatened me and my daughter and them.
Okay, where are you? Your husband?
Yeah, he in there now, drunk full of Kentucky Deluxe, clowning, threatening us and stuff.
Does he have any weapons on him?
I don't know. He in the room with the door closed.
In the bedroom?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's your name?
Alonzo.
Hey, can you step out for me?
No. What you need? My dog. I got dog.
No, come on in, sir. You disturbing the peace. The people next door over there.
Let me put my dog.
Sit down.
Let me put my dog.
Sit down.
That's right.
Let her. Hey, come here. Come here.
Put my dog up.
She can put the dog up.
That's right. He disturbing the peace. They got weed back there. He's clowning. The woman next door with him. She not really. I don't know about to get you quick. I don't think keep it over here. He locked the door and stuff. There you go.
Hey.
Police down in Shreveport, Louisiana were called on a domestic violence call, as you saw as they approached the door, and the gentleman there holding a bottle of alcohol in his hand, as the woman that called the police there pointed out, he's wilding out, he's threatening, and all these things are going down. You saw him sneak out the back door there, and this video wasn't all that long, but about a minute and a half into their encounter with him, it got much worse, because then once he jumped over that back railing to escape, the chase was on. And of course, panic and guns were drawn. Here's a very disturbing footage, a warning for you guys, the next things that went down.
He went that way, Todd.
Oh, God. You shot me.
Oh, no. Dispatch, send EMS right now. Shots fired.
No. No, sir.
Hey.
No.
Tyler, you're good. Hey.
No.
Hey, come on.
No.
Come on.
Man. No.
Come on.
No, man.
Come on.
No.
You're good.
Man.
That traumatic scene went on for a few more minutes as the officer there was trying to, I guess, control the bleeding. Somehow it looked like he was shot in the upper torso area. And of course, that man, Alonzo Bagley, eventually was pronounced dead once they got him to the hospital. The officer that shot him was the one that was seen there running by and walking back, apparently according to the very chaotic body cam footage. And he also went out to flag down the ambulances and those EMT workers that were coming. He was panicked. We don't have to listen to that part. He was panicking this whole time, being the officers. And there's a reason behind that, because he realized it was about over for him. But this quick video here showed what he then saw as he shot and how quickly that can happen when your gun is out and you're prepared to shoot no matter what. Watch. Graphic 4.
Default. Where is he? Where'd he go? Oh, God. You shot me. Oh, no.
Dispatch, send EMS right now. Shots fired.
Alonzo appeared to have been hiding within a little opening where those blue light was. And then as he was running by, took a quick shot. because maybe he was startled by someone standing there. The cop, Alexander Tyler, has been charged with negligent homicide. That's nearly 2 weeks after Alonzo Bagley, who was 43 years old, died at his apartment complex. This is on February 3rd. After that call to the police. Here's the officer that shot, who then panicked and freaked out and said, "Man, please stay with me," and was saying all of the supportive things that one might say to hear the victim and the images there circulating of him, of Alonzo, who is no longer with us. So this is the question, not even question I had, but I guess I want to discuss it in this way, Jordan. Those officers were, after he's on the ground bleeding out, we're trying to administer some kind of help, which is something we don't see in many cases. I've seen them shoot guys, and then once they're on the ground, they're like, "Somebody pick this guy up. What are you doing? Get up, you're not hurt." Things like that. These guys knew what was about to go down as far as the consequences for their actions. But then what I'm trying to figure out is why they don't consider that beforehand. I have some theories, but I'm curious about yours first, this whole thing.
Right. Part of it is police training. They are told to expect fear and expect violence around every corner with every interaction. And they have a shoot first, ask questions later mentality. That's part of their training. And with that being the standard and that being popular throughout police departments, how can we expect anything different? What did this guy do that warranted him dying on the spot? He was, really drunk, potentially belligerent, causing a ruckus. None of those warrant a death sentence. Running away from the cops, and this is something that Republicans love to say, well, if you do that, you deserve it. I don't accept that. And I don't think any reasonable person, when they really look at these experiences and the people that it affects, really can't argue that that makes sense either. It doesn't look like from the video footage that we have, it doesn't look like this was a necessary and warranted response from the police. Why aren't you trying to tackle him first? Why aren't you trying to, tase him first? Also, there are risks associated with tasers too. But when you have your hand on your gun and that's the first thing you do, that goes back to training. And while some people like to push better training and sensitivity training as all these different types of things as a response to police brutality, it is not the only thing that will fix this problem. Part of it is they should have never been called in the first place. There should have been a social worker. There should have been someone who isn't carrying a gun, responding to him and responding to that call first. And that is inherent in the defund the police argument. It is reallocate some of the resources from police and make a more robust social services program in every community. So somebody who is trained to deal with someone like that in that situation is the first responder, not someone with a gun who's trained to shoot first without asking questions.
It's always the way it's been. There's some people who said, "What can we do then?" And I saw a couple of comments along the lines of, once he jumped over that railing and took off running, that's when you stop. Because if nothing else, the cops are afraid. They're assuming there's weapons involved, even though they didn't see any. And in that assumption, they pull out their weapons. And no matter what, somebody's gonna get hurt badly. Whether or not he made a bad decision or not, because he's already made the first bad decision when the lady had to call about him threatening and all that type of stuff. That was already the first bad decision. So you have to understand how this could get worse. You're there to calm situations, not kill. But we get that route most times. And I'm sure people may say, you can't just let him run away. He did some bad things. Make sure the family and the folks that are around him that called for your help get help. I assume they didn't get much help from them the rest of the night, because now it's traumatizing. And now for the rest of their life, this is what they're dealing with. So the next time, you folks say, why don't you call, when next time you call the police, talk about it when you want some protection. This is what happens many times when folks call the police looking for some protection. They end up finding themselves in the middle of gunfire. And the person that they're looking to have calmed down or get away from them or any of that type of stuff ends up dead. And they go, that's not what I called you for. This is the reason why people say don't call the police, because things like this happen. And you know what? I'm sure that officer is distraught over it. I'm sure he's like, oh man, I can't believe I did that. His attorney was saying it was never an intention of his and all that. I'm willing to buy all of that. The problem is he didn't think about that beforehand because he wasn't told he's supposed to think about that beforehand. Society doesn't tell him that this person's life means something. So of course he wouldn't think, hey, yo, if I pull out this gun and he pops out, I might shoot him and that could be a problem. The forethought is just not there. He's never had to. And now he's distraught. His life is over. Most importantly, that guy who he shot in the chest, life is over. One more story here, you guys. I'm curious your thoughts on this. I experienced these types of encounters, not this badly, but definitely these types of food encounters when I was in college. I guess kids have gotten crazier since I was around. Let's watch this.
You charge me $7, I'm gonna
please.
over. You
Can you
understand?
move this?
Yeah, you
Please,
understand.
please.
I got
She's
it.
not doing anything, to be honest. We're not doing anything. We're not even in
Okay,
your
can you move,
hair.
please? Can you move?
Well, what if we
What do
wanted
you
another
mean?
hot dog? Should we move? No, sir.
Oh,
No, we
yeah.
should not.
We want another hot dog.
Oh my God. What are you doing? That's cool. Hey. Stop.
Those 4 college students seen harassing this hot dog street vendor outside of San Diego State University is popping up and catching all kinds of attention now. Apparently they were upset at the price of the hot dogs. So, why not harass the guy? Why not grab the food off the grill? Why not grab what you have and throw it onto his whole setup as well? Because that'll get things done. I think it's pretty obvious that they had been drinking that night and they probably just wanted to get some munchies handled. So why not fight at the same time? The street vendor's name is Andres Alvarez. I'm sure I screwed up his second name there. But he talked about what happened to him on Instagram as he's speaking with someone else. This is in Spanish, but you guys can either understand it or read this at the bottom. Watch.
Pero pues aquí estoy viviendo yo en San Diego.
Wow. Entonces dime que la muchacha te decía que no quería pagar $7 por el hot dog y ese es tu precio, ¿no?
Sí, ese es mi precio y pues ellas por sus huevos quieren que se los dé más baratos. Yo digo, ¿por qué te voy a regalar mi trabajo? Les digo, si no quieres pagar, adelante, ve a comer a otro lado, no sé, haz lo que tú quieras, pero pues no me molestes más. Es lo que yo les decía.
Sí, ¿y por cuánto tiempo te estaban ahí molestando?
Estuvieron como 40 minutos, se me hace poco.
Wow.
Lo único que querían es llamar la atención de las demás personas, yo creo. No sé qué querían, la verdad. Yo creo que ni siquiera estaban ahí por los hot dogs, aunque se los hubiera regalado, hubieran seguido haciéndome un desmadre. Entonces conseguí ese lugar, ya tengo como yo creo que unos 6 meses en ese lugar, y ahí sí no me molestan, la policía todo bien, me deja hacer ahí, la ciudad, los maestros, los alumnos, ya todos me conocen.
So Andres was talking about how he's had generally good interactions. He's had this location and folks generally don't mess with him. He doesn't really get this type of stuff all the time. But then, of course, it happens here though. One particular person who was filming it said the guy's great. No one dislikes him. It's all been a situation. So his story is at least backed up there. A few of your thoughts here as we go to the second, before we go to the second part about this here, Jordan. I'm not sure what school you went to, but this was a regular thing out in Southern California with these types of hot dog vendors before and after parties.
We didn't have hot dog vendors at my school, but we did have a late night bodega that made falafel fresh, and it was amazing. That was the go-to spot. It was great, and they got rowdy. I feel this guy was by himself, so he's just at a kiosk, which is tough, but. Where I went to school, they would yell at you back if you were rowdy or gave them problems. There's a bunch of old guys working there who would they wouldn't tolerate it. So I feel bad for this guy. Just leave workers alone.
It seems pretty straightforward. Like you go for the guy that has the least amount of power and the ones you can go after. By the way, they complained that the hot dogs were $7. I remember when I was in school, the same ones. I believe it must be the same ones. Bacon wrapped. They throw all kinds of toppings on it. Any kind of condiments you want. And I was like, $3, bro. $3. I can scrounge that up at any point on a drunken night. And that was the go-to. I guess now, as we complain about inflation, as it's going everywhere else, these folks still have to go with the same flow of life that everyone else is. Yes, they're also living in that same society. So when it gets up to $7, I guess you gotta start wrapping your own bacon around your own damn hot dogs and frying them sons of bitches up at your own place, or find yourself in this situation. The 4 women that were associated with this, so they were identified, and their sorority said, we don't know them, number one. Number two, one of her employers, it's like some yoga place, Yoga 6, said they're going to do something about her. They pointed out and they said that, it'll bring attention to Ariana Rasul's employer. And then they said, we're going to do something about it. Honestly, don't think they're going to do anything about it. This is one of those things where it's college age students and they work at the yoga places and, the local grocery store or wherever, if these rest of these girls work at all. But that's been the response. And honestly, I'm sure they'll get the shame and everything, but the assumption that these employers are going to do something about them when they're out on the street harassing this guy, I'm not buying. Let's just keep that real too. I don't know.
I don't either, and maybe this is an unpopular take, but I also don't want people to lose their jobs for doing something stupid. Like, just learn from it, never do it again, leave people alone. But also, you shouldn't just lose your job. I don't know. I don't feel great about random people who aren't, public people doing something obviously stupid, also losing their job in a way that their action has nothing to do with their job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just leave them alone. Never do it again. Learn your lesson. Go on with your life.
Get these campus authorities over there and get them, detained in the drunk tank for a night or something like that. That's plenty of punishment.
Sure. Yeah, a little bit of punishment.
Enough of this. The week is over, you guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, Jordan, for being here. Don't forget, Jordan's going to be on Game Busters later on after the Young Turks, which is coming on right now. Power panels happening tonight. Check them out. We'll catch you guys next weekend on a fresh new week on the watch list. We'll see you guys then, though.